Hey everybody, this is Jim the Tabletop Engineer, and welcome to a new painting video. I almost said playthrough video. I've been doing these for a few weeks now. It's basically just a chance to paint another miniature and chat with you about something that's on my mind or maybe a game or something like that. So tonight I am going to be painting this guy. He's Diehard Miniatures Metal Mini. He's a robot. And he's got a two arms holding out a gun to that direction. He's got a lot of armor, a lot of metal parts, and I'm going to paint him a solid a color, and then I'm going to use a blade to scratch away and hopefully reveal some of the metal and maybe give him a beat up appearance. While I'm painting this, what do I want to talk about tonight? Well, I want to talk about a game that I haven't played in a while, but I'm very excited about because my youngest son, age 12, has shown some interest in it. The game I want to talk about is this one. It's called Starbreach. It's by Elijah Kellogg, and you can still get this game. You can get the PDF or the print. I always recommend the print version. Starbreach is a tabletop skirmish game that uses D6 dice, and you have anywhere from, I think, 4 to 10 miniatures. You choose a faction, and when I say a faction, it's really sort of a, I'm not sure what you would call that. Maybe let's say the Colonial Marines are a faction, and the Jedis are a faction, and the Sith are a faction, and the Xenomorphs are a faction. I think that gives you the idea. So you can basically, whatever miniatures you have, you can pick, pick the faction that you really like. Now they don't call it in Starbreach. They don't call the Jedi the Jedi. What they do is they call them the Path, ancient space warrior monks, and the Sith is called the Dark Path, evil ancient space warrior monks. You want to play some space soldiers? Legion of Mankind. You want to play Xenomorphs? That's probably going to be, let's see, what would that be? Maybe the Hive bug monsters, space bug monsters. There's some on here that definitely mirror Warhammer war bands, and there's some in here that are just sort of random. The Resistance is the Rebellion, Star Wars Rebellion. Hunters are like bounty hunters. There's an intergalactic there's like 23, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20. I was wrong. 20 factions in all that you can pick from, and you get credits you basically decide on a credit. I think the basic game is 120 credits. Your leader, which is called your alpha, is free. You get them for free, and then you can spend the other credits on soldiers, relics, which are kind of like one-off weapons, special weapons. You can change the weapon loadout on your guys. It's a really, really cool game. I've played it a number of times, but I haven't played it in probably a couple years, and I'm really looking forward to getting with it. It doesn't require anything special in terms of dice, but I do recommend you get some of the Starbreach dice, and I'll tell you why. The Starbreach dice, you can use 1d6. 1 corresponds to down. That's this symbol right here. You assign it. I'll explain the rules as I start painting, but just recognize you can use d6, but you can also use the dice that are made for Starbreach, and they come in different colors because each player will need a different color, but the dice have to be the same size because you're going to be reaching in a bag to pull them out, and you don't want the dice to be different sizes because then it could let the player pull out their own versus their opponent's. So let's go ahead and get this ball going. What I want to do is I want to paint this guy. I'm not really sure. I want to try this runic gray. It's sort of a blue, but it looks interesting to me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint pretty much the entire robot, except for the weapon and maybe some of his joints and things like that. So I want to see what this looks like. This could be could be a mistake. You never know. And I am using Army Painter's speed paints tonight. So while I'm painting, I'm going to talk about this game. So as I mentioned, what you do is each player you buy your soldiers based on a cost. No, I do not like this color at all. I am wiping that off. That is not going to work. It's too faded. All right, so let's go with that. That did not look good. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go with Gravelord Gray. I want to see what he looks like totally dark. So you basically you're going to put the miniatures on the desktop, on the tabletop. You can use any kind of terrain you want. The game recommends a 3x3 tabletop, which is pretty standard for a 2-player game where you're going to be needing to move minis around and give them enough room to do things like get high, get above the opponents, or get into hiding, or create an ambush, those kind of things. So you definitely, the game has a lot of strategy elements in it, and for that reason, you're not really wanting to be playing on a little 2x2 field. I like 2x2 games, but this one is definitely not one you should be doing 2x2. So that said, once there are special rules for who gets to pick the side of the field. Then there are rules related to how you place your miniatures on the field. There are rules about who goes first in certain types of combat, like melee or hand-to-hand. But most of the rules pertain to the pulling of these dice from a bag. You have one die for each warband member. So if you have if you have your alpha and say 5 soldiers for a total of 6, you will put 6 dice in the bag, and those dice are yours. One corresponds to each one of your warband members. Your opponent does the exact same thing. They will put, if they have 6 warband members, they'll put 6 in there. If they have 4, they'll just put 4, which puts the odds, if you have a warband with 10 in it, obviously you have a higher chance of pulling one of your die, even multiple times before your opponent does. Now, the book does say, there is a rule in there, the book says that if someone pulls 4 of their dice in a row before their opponent ever gets to pull something, then immediately the opponent gets to pull one of their dice and play a warband member, and then it goes back to the random pulls. So there, it's still a lot. I mean, if you have 10 and your opponent has 4 warband members, you could theoretically pull 3 or 4 dice before they do, and have a tactical advantage, if you want to call it that. But if you're playing with a 4 member warband, your warband is probably a little more powerful. You've spent more points like on weapons or armor or things like that. So I think the game does a real good job of balancing the different size warband members. It does not require, like for instance, Stargrave. You don't have to have 8 warband members plus your captain and first mate, but it's kind of where the game is balanced in a way that you really want to. I mean, the rules make the low level recruits are free. So why wouldn't you want to have a full allotment of at least 10 warband members, right? But this particular game, Star Breach, doesn't force you to do that. You can have as few or as much as your money or your credits can buy. But you will discover that there are limits. I mean, that's why I say it's like 4 to 10, because when you get up to a certain level, you won't be able to afford any more soldiers. You only have 120 credits, and typically the warband members are anywhere from like 10 to 15, although there are some that are up in the 30, 40 range. So just keep that in mind, because you may have a strategy that you want to play with a fewer warband, or maybe more. Maybe that's your thing, is you like to have a lot of miniatures on the table. The game will support that in the sense that you're not going to get penalized for having fewer or more than your opponent, because it's all going to work out in the math, or I say that in my limited time playing the game. I believe I've seen that the game is fairly balanced in terms of, if you have a high number of warband members or a low number of warband members. All right, so let's talk about the mechanics of the game. This is what I really find interesting. Before I played Star Breach, I had seen games of bolt action, but I never really, I won't say it didn't appeal to me, but in bolt action, you basically pull dice, and they have commands on them that you can issue to your soldiers. This follows a very similar format in that each of the die has 6 different order types on it. There's down, attack, rush or ambush, or not rush, assault. There's cover fire, mend or first aid, and then there is what was the other one? Can't remember. There's 6 of them. So you reach in the bag, you pull a die out. Oh, this is my die. So what you do is you pick one of the orders, and then you place it with the miniature that you want to issue that order, and then you immediately resolve it. Okay. So let's say you want to assault. So that gives you a chance to run forward a certain distance and then fire. Now, because you chose that option, there are penalties to the firing because you ran, right? A lot of games have that a mechanic where if you move before you fire, there's a slight penalty when you fire. You're less accurate. Cover fire is multiple shots, and it's definitely at a disadvantage because you're not aiming. You're just sort of spraying bullets and hoping to hit something. But what's interesting about this game is with assault and I think fire, or it may be cover fire, I can't remember. With 2 or 3 of the potential assignments of the die, your opponent has an opportunity if they haven't assigned a die to the enemy that you're shooting at, for example. Like if I choose to shoot at an enemy that has a die already, that member has already been assigned a die and taken an action, they won't get the chance to respond to my action. But if they haven't had a die assigned, some of the battles give you the opportunity to respond to your enemy with an order. You can immediately, like for example, one of the options is you can immediately pull a die out of the bag that's yours. You get to look, oh, that's not mine. Oh, there's mine. So you pull out one of your die, and you can assign it to that target, to that warband member of yours that's getting targeted. And you can immediately choose to issue them like a down. Like it's almost like they see you shooting in their direction, and you can immediately take a down action, which gives a penalty to the shooter. Right? It's hard. It's going to be harder for them to hit you. It's a really interesting mechanic. I've not played a skirmish war game with that mechanic before. And honestly, the few times I've played Star Breach, I forgot about that rule or wasn't aware of it at the time. And if I had known that, I think the games could have gone much differently. But it's little subtle rules like that that give this game a little more tactic and strategy elements than other games. I think for those of you who've been following me, you know that I've been playing this game called Space Weirdos. I play it with my 12-year-old, and he likes the game. He likes it because he frequently beats me at it, and not frequently, he beats me at it. He's very good at the game. But my dislike of the game, well, that's a strong word. I like the game, but I'm using the game as a stepping stone for my youngest because I like that in Space Weirdos, you can pick your faction. Now, I think there's six different factions, and the factions are very limited. There's like a total of 5 or 6 weapon types that you can buy. Every faction's going to either have claw or tail-like weapons or automatic type weapons or some combination. There's not a lot of variety there's not a lot of variety, okay? Now, for a young gamer, it's perfect because that limitation can actually benefit a new player because it's not confusing. It's a little easier to remember the rules and things like that. But what's going on now is I've sort of run out of things to do. I've changed up we've played 6 or 7 or 8. I don't remember how many games we've played. We've played some that I've recorded on video, and we've played some that weren't recorded. But out of those games, I feel like I've exhausted what I can get out of that game. And that's not to say I won't ever play it again, because I probably will. I know that some of his friends are interested in playing it. But it is limited, and with Star Breach, you've got 20 factions. Every faction has their own weapons list. Every faction has their own artifacts that they can purchase with credits that do special things. There are psychic abilities that some of your warband members can have, and there are like 5 or 6 schools of psychic powers that are spread out over the 20. So it can take a long time to try out all the different factions, all the weapon combos, all the psychic abilities. I mean, there's a lot to this game. And now, Space Weirdos is like a 16-page rulebook. I mean, it's very thin. You print it out, it's double-sided pages, you fold it in half, staple it, and you've got this little 16-page zine format rulebook. It reads in about 5 or 10 minutes. I mean, you want to read it, if you want to play it, you want to read it a few times just to get the rules really down, but it's not a hard game to grasp. Whereas Star Breach, I don't even remember, Star Breach has well over 120 pages. The character sheets are a lot more advanced. The reference sheets a little more advanced. But the 20 factions are where, in my opinion, that's where the beauty of this game lies, is in its variability. Now, you could easily go play a game like Warhammer, right? Warhammer has, I don't know, I'm not a Warhammer player. I don't know how many factions it has. It has the Space Marines, but in the Space Marines, there's like 100 different chapters. And then there's the mutants, which there's like 6 or 7 or 10, or I honestly, I'm sorry, I'm probably speaking out of turn here, but I don't know. I just know that Warhammer has a lot of different factions. But Warhammer's expensive. With Warhammer, you want to play I think there's like 500 points, 1,000 points, 2,000 points, and the higher you go, obviously the more miniatures you have to buy and the more painting you have to do, and it really gets out of control. With this game, you have that high number of factions with unique abilities and weapons and things like that, but you're playing a skirmish war game, which is like a very small number of miniatures. I prefer games that have 10 or fewer miniatures on the table. I play a lot of solo games. This is definitely not solo, although there are some solo rules for this, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there are. I've never played the solo version of this game. Maybe I should look into that. But I am looking forward to playing this against my son. This actually goes up to 6 players, by the way. 6 players. There's a campaign in here. You can with explanations on how to run a campaign, and then there's just one-off battles. There's 1 versus 1, 2v2, 3 versus 3, and it goes all the way up to 6 players. So there's a lot of options for a game with a lot of miniatures, but with 6 players. And to me, that's incredible, because I am now thinking what I really want to do in the near future is I want to play a game of this with 6 different factions on the board. 6 different factions. It might take a long time to play that game, but I think it would be really fun. So if you're a player of Star Breach already, let me know, and maybe we can coordinate to get a game at some upcoming convention. This thing is drying very slow. I probably should get a hot air, not a hair dryer, but I do have a heat gun somewhere, and I just don't know what I did with it. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and paint the weapon, since I can do that, and let his body continue to dry. So Star Breach, Star Breach is a sci-fi game. Elijah, the author, they also have like a superhero game. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. They have a superhero skirmish game. I believe it uses miniatures as well. I've not played it. I've not read the rule book. I don't know much about it. But I am very impressed with the rules of this game. I don't know the history of it. I kind of wish maybe I should reach out to Elijah and ask him to do an interview. Maybe I'll do that. I'd like to know more about how this game was developed. I picked it up based on a recommendation. I think it was Mac over at the Indie Invasion podcast. I think that's who initially put me onto Starbreach. I'm pretty confident he's the one. And so I downloaded the PDF, paid for the PDF, read it, was just like, oh man, I want to play this. And I played it at a couple cons, and I played it as a demo at Coastal Con one time with some people that really liked the dice mechanic of it. And so lately, I don't know why, I've been really wanting to get back and playing this game, mainly because although I like solo games, I'm sort of wanting to do some playtime with my son, and hopefully he will like this game. So what I'm going to do is obviously I'll put some links to the website, the game, and things like that. I'll put that all in this video's description so that you can go check it out. But there is a Starbreach Facebook group. I'm sure that there's a Discord group somewhere. Everybody keeps telling me I need to get off Facebook and get on Discord, but I'm an old guy. Facebook's easy. Discord confuses me. So for right now, I'm still on Facebook. But yeah, I'm sure there's a Discord, but they do have a Facebook group that I occasionally drop in on just to see what the conversation is. And so if you got questions about the game that I haven't answered in this video, and I'm sure there are a lot of questions I haven't answered in this video, I would definitely turn your attention to that and to that group and see if they can help you out. So this really, I'm not so sure about this. I like the color. I'm not sure. It's just everything's drying very slow, and because I used speed paints on the body, I'm hesitant to do any painting on it because of the reactivation issue. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this one sit for a while, and I'm going to take a break in the video and come back and finish him up as soon as I can get him dry. So I'm going to cut right now, and I'll be back. Okay, his paint has dried a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and start adding some details here and there. Mainly he's got some like tubing and a little bit of armor here and there that could be silvered up, and just some joints and things like that. So I'm going to hit these with a little dots of silver just to make them a little brighter. And then when this is done, I'm going to look at scratching him up a little bit, giving him some battle wear. I don't know if that's going to work with these speed paints, but I'm going to certainly try and test it out, and we'll see. So what I'm doing is I'm just touching various parts of his body with this silver. Against that Dark Lord gray, it just makes the silver really pop out, and makes him look more mechanical. You can see wires and things like, well, I'm not sure if they're wires. They're definitely conduit and things like that. I could paint them red, or green or blue, but I think I'm just going to go with the silver here. It just doesn't make it look, oh, there's already some scratches and stuff on this guy, and that's just from the mold. So he comes like that. That's kind of cool, actually. Now that I'm looking at it really close, I'm seeing a lot of detail. All right. I definitely want to add some color here and there. His gun would be a good place for it, since he's got something that looks fairly new in his hands. It's got some areas I could add some detail, and I'm just going to finish up a few little bits and pieces here. And then, and the other thing I will do is this guy may get a gray, a dark wash when I'm done. We will see. I don't know. Sometimes when I use this silver, it's a little too much, and it needs a dark wash to tone it down again. But we'll see. He looks very dirty and grimy. I'm really liking him. What I need to do now is get a couple non-speed paints. So give me just 1 second. For this part, I'm going to go with some Pro acrylic paints that I have. They're just very, very vibrant, and just like them. So first go with the red. And these Pro acryls, by the way, the name is Pro acryl. They're from Monument Hobbies, if you're interested. And Monument Hobbies, I found these at Coastal Con last year, and bought a box of them of like 24 colors, because they're just you can never go wrong with having some really vibrant colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this globe inside the gun with some red, and I may come back later and hit it with some orange just to make it look like a little energy ball in there. And I'm getting red on some of the silver, but that's okay because I can touch that up later. Once I get this ball the way I like it, I'll go back and hit the silver in the areas where I made a mistake. Actually, I kind of like that. It looks like there's something in the gun that's charging up. In there. And for his eye, about the only thing I can go there is yellow. Now, I heard an interesting trick, and I'm going to try it. It said to get a pink or a light purple. Well, I do have purple, and it's sort of light. It said that you can drop a drop of yellow over, like, pink or purple. This doesn't look too dark. Actually, I've never... Come on now. Oh, boy. Is this one sealed up? Something's not right. Looks like it's blocked. Let's see if that works. All right, try it again. There we go. So I'm just going to put a tiny drop of this, let it dry, and then I'll put a drop of yellow on top. We'll see what that does. This is really tricky because his eye is recessed. It's down in there. You can't touch the edges or the bomb will go off. Okay, not too bad. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I did get a drop in there. We'll let that dry. In the meantime, I'm going to put some other little details. Let's see, what can I do? He's got there's not a lot of areas for color here. I guess I could put like some stripes or something to give him like maybe a rank, but I'm not good at painting hand lining things, so I may just leave that alone. But there are some areas where I could put like a little green dot or a yellow dot for some power. So I think I'm going to do that. All right. Let's see. I always hate wasting so much paint, but sometimes you squeeze it, a lot comes out when you just need a little bit. And so that looks pretty good. And that's okay. I just put a little green dot on the weapon. Just a little detail. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the silver weapon with some of this bluish. Where did I do with it? That's not the blue. That's not. It was over here. I spilled out some of the Dark Lord Gray blue. Yeah, this is it. Or no, not Dark Lord. It was what was this? It was called Runic Gray. And what I want to do is I want to use some of it on the gun just to give it some color, some blue. Doesn't look bad. When you have well, at least in my opinion, when I have a miniature that's like a total color, it really helps to add just a little extra colors here and there to break it up and make it look a little better. So that's good. And definitely going to do a dark wash on this when I get to that point. Now what I can do is I've got some silver here that hasn't dried, and I can touch up the gun where I made some mistakes. So anyway, I was talking about the Star Breach game. If you have any questions about it, obviously ask me. I'll do my best to tell you what I can. I've only played it maybe 4 times, but each time was very fun, and I'm really looking forward to playing it with my son. It's one of the reasons I've been painting so many sci-fi models lately, is I've been trying to, well, I paint them for 5 parsecs, but I've also been choosing to paint them so that he'll have a bigger selection of sci-fi minis to pick from when he decides he wants to play. Now the last thing I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do it tonight, is I want to paint the surface of this gray, and I'm probably going to dry brush it and see what that does. I don't want to paint it silver because I think it'll clash with the actual robot, but I need to do something with it, and I think a gray dry brush might bring it up just a little bit lighter, or not much lighter, but enough that it won't look black all the way around the base. So there we go. I think I'm going to call him done, except for his base. He's not, like I said, he's not much. He's an old beat-up robot, Dark Lord Gray with a brand new high-tech weapon. Oops, I do see where I missed some silver. So definitely liking what I did here, and I may use him in an upcoming game of 5 parsecs as a bad guy. He just looks the part. He doesn't look safe. He looks dangerous. So definitely think that he's gonna be one I'll be reaching for a few times. All right, that is it. This is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer. Thanks for joining me on this very short Let's Paint a Mini. I try to do this a couple times a week. I use it as an excuse to not only talk to you guys or visit with you, but I use it as an excuse to get some painting done, because I could sit here and just talk to you about whatever topic I want, but I'd rather paint something or do something at the same time, and I figure painting miniatures is something we can enjoy, and you can see that I'm not a pro by any means. My philosophy is get some paint on it so you can get it on the table and play with it, and that's really what I tend to do with the miniatures I paint. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back very soon with another Let's Paint a Mini. Until then, everybody, take care.